a tribute to the various ministries and businesses they have established.
We have the traditional married couples ministry, and we try to minister to our singles here too. But now we think that the wave of the future is to really get professionals in congregations, those who do things every day of the week. We employ 150 people here in the Roseland community. We have our school with over 500 students in our school. We have a bookstore. We employ about 24, 25 people there. We have the largest Christian bookstore in the city of Chicago. We have Bibles. We have computer software. We have all of your latest books. Not only that, but we have a cafe in which we have mocha and latte and cappuccino. And then we have music. And so anything that people basically need, they can find it here at the House of Peace. One of the things that we're really interested in doing now is buying a piece of property here in our community that's located about a mile from here, and actually helping to continue economic redevelopment and housing in this community. We hope to build in the next 2 years about 40 houses in Roseland along Michigan Avenue.
The Reverend Meeks has traveled far beyond the four walls of his church to come to the aid of others, like the U.S. soldiers who were taken hostage in Kosovo earlier this year. Even without the sanction of our government, he was part of a delegation led by the Reverend Jesse L. Jackson to negotiate the hostages' release and to bring them home to safety. The Reverend James Meeks and the Salem Baptist Church of Chicago have one of the most progressive agendas of any community organization in the city. The issue that concerns Reverend Meeks the most, however, is the relationship in his community between faith and tradition.
The biggest concern that I have about faith and tradition and society is that we have the church over here and then we have the community over there, as if they are two separate entities. That is wrong. For the 6,000 or 7,000 people to meet in here each week, not discuss or talk about the elections, not look at the crisis of prostitution or gangs in this community, then that makes this an irrelevant gathering. We gather together, we meet for a couple of hours, we talk about heaven, and then we leave. My biggest frustration is that the church must be very careful not to become irrelevant. And we become irrelevant when the only thing we talk about is heaven and not earth.
What an inspiring institution. The services of Salem Baptist Church can be seen live every Sunday at 12:30 p.m. and Wednesdays at 7 p.m. on WJYS-TV. And you can visit their website at www.sbcoc.org. This is truly an example of keeping the faith in the 21st century. We'll be right back with more in a moment.
Hello, I'm Tom Patrick, President and Chief Operating Officer of People's Energy. For 150 years, we've been a part of the community providing energy services to Chicago families. Today, we're teaming up with ABC7 to bring you people, places, and things you should know. Throughout the program, Harry Porterfield and others from the ABC7 team will introduce you to people who will touch your heart, broaden your mind, and fill your soul. The admirable African Americans that are profiled live right here in our community. On behalf of People's Energy and ABC7, I am proud to bring you this program.
Welcome back. From this altar, some of the great history makers of our time have spoken here at Quinn Chapel. Frederick Douglass, Booker T. Washington, and George Washington Carver, to name a few. Martin Luther King Jr. and Sr., Adam Clayton Powell Jr., Susan B. Anthony, and Presidents William B. McKinley and Howard Taft have also spoken here. There's a lot of legacy that leads to our next guest, who takes the future of faith and religion to a whole new level. Pastor Bill Winston and the Living Word Christian Center is the home to the Bill Winston Ministries and the Joseph Center School of Business and Entrepreneurship. The idea of the church being a business operation is unconventional to some, but second nature to this former Air Force pilot and computer salesman turned TV evangelist. Leah Hope brings us the Living Word Christian Center.
This may look like an ordinary shopping mall, but there is an exception. It's owned by Living Word Christian Center, and tucked behind the mall is its church, with a congregation of 8,000 strong and still growing. It was founded back in 1989 by Pastor Bill Winston, and now services can be seen worldwide on Black Entertainment Television and by DirecTV satellite. Pastor Winston was born and raised in Tuskegee, Alabama, studied biology and pre-med at Tuskegee University. And after finishing school, he joined the Air Force and flew fighter planes for a number of years before becoming a computer salesman for IBM. He sold computers for 13 years and then was called to the ministry.
So people often ask how you make a transition like that. But those backgrounds really gave me, I think, some of the real good training and some foundation for the ministry, because it taught me the disciplines and timeliness and things like that. And then in the business community, it taught me the business acumen, because some people say that church and church-related business is nonprofit, but that's far from the truth. This business has profit just like any other business.
The church business has been successful for Bill Winston Ministries, affording it the capital to purchase this mall with the sanctuaries located in Oak Park and start several businesses, including plans to start a bank of their own.
The whole idea about it is to generate revenue. One thing you might want to note as well, we have a business school. So we have a 9-month business school of entrepreneurship. We want to have our own production center or media center. Not only that, we've started Big Joe Records.
For some, Pastor Winston's style of ministry is unconventional, and that is a mold he is intentionally trying to break.
I'm different. I believe in getting out of the mold. We have a message, and it's a message of freedom. And to have people to be free to think for themselves, to get people away from so much of what somebody did to me, and get people more in a mode of with God all things become possible, having people to understand that we do have some abilities within ourselves, that if things can be stirred up, we can get some things done. And sometimes we look back so much until we can't move forward. And I think that message is something that a lot of people are ready to hear.
Visit the Bill Winston Ministries at www.bwm.org. Next, Keeping the Faith continues with the Reverend Dr. Kenneth B. Smith.
You see it in a well-worn smile, a newborn grin. You feel it in the warmth of summer, during the winter wind. It's people's energy, the source for power, the source for you. Energy, people's energy, energy for you. Energy, people's energy.
Quinn Chapel has fed countless thousands of the hungry over the years. During the economic depression of the 1930s, it was common practice to feed hundreds of people twice daily, 6 days a week. This is akin to the work of the Chicago Community Trust and senior fellow, the Reverend Dr. Kenneth B. Smith. Ken Smith has been an icon to the religious community through his teaching and leadership for most of his life.
The Reverend Dr. Kenneth B. Smith's ministry in Chicago for more than 4 decades extends far beyond the pulpit. His life's work has been a legacy of leadership in building bridges and demonstrating the connection between faith tradition and community service. He currently serves as senior fellow for the Chicago Community Trust. The Reverend Dr. Kenneth B. Smith was born in Montclair, New Jersey, but has been a Chicago resident for almost 50 years. He has dedicated his life to delivering messages of Christian faith and community service, which to him go hand in hand.
Ministers are teachers as well as preachers, and therefore you have a teaching responsibility. And in your teaching at your local parish, you're trying to teach people that this community of which we are a part, God's community, is indeed local, but it's also global. It's not just Protestants, Roman Catholics, and Jewish people. It's now Hindus and Muslims and Buddhists and everybody. These are all part of that family.
What role does faith and religion play in our everyday lives, including politics?
I think it's a major role. I think the religious communities have a role to play in the public square. In other words, calling the community to account for the way we treat one another.
You were the organizing pastor of Trinity United Congregational Church. How did that come about?
That was a marvelous experience for me because I came to know a community of people in a way that I had not known before from the very beginning. And there was great excitement. People were deeply committed to it. And now when I drive by there and when I have been, I'm absolutely flabbergasted at what has become of that.
How does faith and religion affect the black community?
Well, the black church has been a bulwark in the black community. It was the gathering place. It was the bridge over the turbulent waters. And it continues to play that kind of role. Those churches and those congregations, and I use that broadly, help to keep alive hope in the lives of people.
With an active membership of 323 in 1850, Quinn Chapel was a station on the Underground Railroad, providing a safe haven to runaway slaves. Our next featured institution was part of that movement as well. The Second Baptist Church of Evanston was founded by ex-slaves. It is a church where the congregation ranges from domestics to those with degrees and everyone in between. Diane Burns had a chance to chat with the lead pastor, Reverend Dr. Heisel B. Taylor.
This is Second Baptist Church in Evanston, and there is a lot of history in these walls. The members here are celebrating 130 years of worship. The church was founded in 1869 by a man named Nathan Branch and a group of ex-slaves. It was also part of the Underground Railroad, earning the name the Church of Faith and Freedom. Well, today it is led by the Reverend Dr. Heisel Taylor. It was in 1870 that a group of proud and courageous African-American men and women opened the doors of this structure to the Evanston community.
Second Baptist Church came into being as ex-slaves who were members of the First Baptist Church, which was a predominantly white Baptist church here. It's now known as Lake Street Church, but at that time was the First Baptist Church. They had ex-slaves who participated in the worship life. Something happened, ostensibly, where they could not participate in the worship service as they would like and pray like they wanted, so they walked out. It was a moment of great pain and organized the Second Baptist Church. This was, of course, 130 years ago. And that church we have as a picture of the original church downstairs, a little house. And out of that church, they continued to develop and built this church that we're presently in. This church was built by those ex-slaves.
Dr. Taylor succeeded Reverend Jesse L. Jackson as the interim national president of Operation Push. He has strong ties to the civil rights of his community, believing that the church and politics are connected.
They're one reality, you see, and it was unfortunate that we lived such a long time thinking the secular and the sacred were somehow a sharp division line where you couldn't participate in politics. And it's still a prevailing idea in the black church. There are many churches that cannot be avant-garde like I am, and like the King movement with Martin King and so on. But I think the more African-American pastors become learned and feel confident to participate in the whole world, we're going to see that kind of thing go down. The black church has been the prophetic political force for African Americans. It is the extended family. It is everything that a disenfranchised people could not be. It was the place where we came together in spite of all of the offenses and things around us. The black church has been a refuge for African Americans.
So in a world that is sometimes very idealistic and materialistic, how can people learn to lead a spiritual life based on faith?
A faith-based life is not merely about going to church, it's not merely about reading the Bible. Those things are only, again, means to an end. The end is that you become an unaberrated, fully free spirit, sinless, if you will, happy, complete, whole. And when you're that way, to me, you have heaven in life.
Don't go away. The Catholic Archdiocese of Chicago and Trinity United Church of Christ are coming up next.
You see it in a well-worn smile, a newborn grin. You feel it in the warmth of summer, during the winter wind. It's people's energy, the source for power, the source
Welcome back. The original Quinn Chapel began as a prayer band with only 7 members who met in homes and schools. The present church was built on the backs and sweat of those members. This neo-Gothic architectural structure has landmark status on the local, state, and national levels. The renowned proscenium arch mural of a black Jesus, a black Virgin Mary, and a host of black angelic cherubs was painted by artist Proctor Chisholm at a time before it was in vogue to have such black works of art in a church. These religious icons are synonymous with the Catholic Archdiocese of Chicago. I had the pleasure of speaking with Bishop Joseph Perry about African Americans in the Catholic Church. The story of the Catholic Church and the African American community is one that has been blessed with significant contributions by blacks whose faith is alive and vibrant. One such person is Bishop Joseph Perry. He has been a priest for 25 years, whose concentration is in the areas of education and canon law. In June of 1998, he was sanctioned bishop by Cardinal Francis George. He is one of only 12 African American Catholic bishops in the United States.
Well, the Catholic faith, with those of African descent, has been there from really the very beginning. We as African Americans blend religion and faith and life, even in public life, in ways in which other groups cannot imagine.
What are some of the ways the church can change to bring things into the new millennium?
I think this Pope especially, and his previous 2 predecessors, have offered the world a different portrait of the church, which is much more multicultural than it has been prior to 1960.
To help aid in the crusade to join the new millennium, the Black Catholics of Chicago have launched a website at www.blackcatholicchicago.org. And this November, they hosted the first ever Black Catholic Convocation here in Chicago. It was a grand success, bringing out over 2,000 participants.
The purpose of the Black Catholic Convocation here in Chicago was to do a few things. One was to bring black Catholics together in an assembly in numbers that they had never witnessed before, at least in this city, in this archdiocese. Secondly, to raise their consciousness about their own participation and gift to the church in this area. And then thirdly, to canvass their opinion and feeling about some issues that impact on doing ministry in the city today.
Well, Bishop, what do you want your legacy to be?
I haven't given that much thought, only being here 2.5 years, but if I would contribute to that meditation at this time, I would say, as a priest, a bishop, I would want people to know me for a compassionate shepherd, someone who really is concerned about and looks out for their best interests, seeks their conversion, their inspiration, and even if the word delivered to them by me has been a hard word, that it was delivered with love.
This beautiful pipe organ is well known because it was an exhibition piece that was purchased from the Columbian Exposition held in Chicago in 1893. It has been said by our next guest that music is key to worship. The Reverend Dr. Jeremiah Wright of the Trinity United Church of Christ also quotes W.E.B. Du Bois as saying, there are 3 key elements to the African American church: preaching, music, and the Holy Spirit. Take any one of them away and you have a civic club. Well, Trinity United Church of Christ is definitely not the traditional civic club. They have a rousing choir, dynamic preaching, and a Holy Spirit grounded in African American ministry. Cheryl Burton visits with Reverend Wright and the Trinity United Church of Christ.
Trinity United Church of Christ is located on Chicago's South Side, and it's considered to be one of the most progressive churches in the city. Its faith is steered deep in African tradition, but its ministries touch the lives of people from all nationalities. The Reverend Dr. Jeremiah Wright is the minister who delivers the word to all who want to listen. Trinity United Church of Christ has a motto, unashamedly black and unapologetically Christian. This philosophy is evident from the Afrocentric attire worn by everyone, from the sanctuary choir to the ministers in the pulpit. There is a strong sense of African American pride here, a tradition that the Reverend Dr. Jeremiah Wright continues to follow.
We do have African roots, and that we affirm those African roots. But God didn't send Jesus for just Africans. In fact, it says, whosoever. In fact, he told Abraham long before Jesus was born that through you all nations of the earth will be blessed.
Trinity United Church of Christ was established in 1961 by a group of delegates seeking to fulfill a void on the southwest side of Chicago. The congregation was very small when Reverend Wright joined in 1972, but has since grown to over 7,000 members.
Most people know the Congregational Church of New England as one of our four predecessor denominations, and with congregational style worship, very quiet, very unemotional, very heady, very left-brained. People started leaving to go places where they could express themselves and be themselves. The congregation made a decision to change the way it was.
Jeremiah Wright was born to a pastoral family in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. His father pastored their home church for 42 years. Reverend Wright was educated at Virginia Union, Howard University, the University of Chicago Divinity School, and the Chicago Theological Seminary. At one point, he quit college and went into the military, but was brought back to the church by his strong sense of faith and religion.
I think faith and religion are very important. We are more than flesh and blood. We have a mind, an intellect, a will, but we also have a spirit. And that has to be fed.
What is the connection with church and the African American family?
Back in the days of segregation, it was all we had. We couldn't go to the movie. And then, even when we got movies, they said, a lot of black mamas say, you don't go to Sunday school, you can't go to the show. It was a central core of activity for Africans in this country. But today, for instance, look at a church like ours that has so many things: martial arts, rites of passage, cultural education, spiritual education, biblical education. It becomes dance. It becomes a very important part of that family's life, because it's not just what we do on Sundays.
What kind of legacy do you hope you leave behind, and what do you want people to always remember?
I would like to be remembered as somebody who cared enough about, as Reverend Brooks said to me that day on the church steps in 1967, you cared so much about the church that you did something to leave a church that will go on and will bless generations yet unborn because of how much you cared about it.
That was fantastic. Trinity services can be seen on WJYS-TV Monday evenings at 7 p.m. and their radio broadcast on Sunday afternoons at 1 p.m. on 92.3 FM. Their website address is www.tucc.org. And now, I'd like to introduce you to the pastor of Quinn Chapel AME Church, the Reverend Thomas Higginbotham. And Reverend, thank you so much for allowing us to present our program from your sanctuary. At 110 years old, this is a very beautiful church.
Well, thank you, Harry, and we're just very happy to share Quinn Chapel, this historic treasure, with you. Harry, we feel that we belong to this community. It's been so much a part of the history of Chicago. And we just want you to know that we've just been officially designated an official project of the Save America's Treasures program, which is a project of the White House Millennium Council and the National Trust for Historic Preservation. And it's designed to preserve America's historic and cultural legacy. So we're very proud of that. And we just want to continue to be a part of this community, and we need the support of the community in order to do that.
Well, congratulations on that distinction, Reverend. Thank you so much. This is definitely a legacy we must preserve. Well, that's all we have time for today. I hope you've enjoyed People, Places, and Things You Should Know, and our special on keeping the faith. Remember, no matter what cultural, religious, or spiritual background you are from, try to always stay grounded and keep the faith. With faith, all things are possible. For Cheryl Burton, Charles Thomas, Leah Hope, Bill Campbell, and Diane Burns, I'm Harry Porterfield. Thank you for joining us.
People, Places, and Things You Should Know has been brought to you by People's Energy. Energy for you.
We hope you've enjoyed People, Places, and Things You Should Know. People's Energy is proud to bring ABC7 viewers programs like these that highlight leaders and great events in the community. On behalf of everyone at People's Energy, it's been a pleasure. I'm Tom Patrick. Thanks for watching.
today.